Welcome back. Welcome back. I hope you have had a wonderful lunch, the great break, because what we going to witness now, it's beautiful conversations, great uh, insights into these technologies. We're going to have a presentation now about AI in supply chain. After that, we're going to have another talk on AI in financial services. Then we're going to have a panel discussion where we're going to look at developing an AI strategy for your business, what you should look out for, what are the challenges, what you should incorporate, and what you should not do. So we in for some insights and exciting afternoon ahead of us. So to kickstart our second half of the event, um, Nomsa Nteleko is she's one of the people or executives that I look up to in the industry. Nomsa is the Chief Commercial Officer at Amathuba AI. She's creating opportunities, AI. The name speaks for itself. Nomsa is an award-winning entrepreneur with more than 15 years professional experience in the ICT space. Her experience is in the area of business and financial management systems, including PFMA, MFMA. She helps organizations to automate their business processes from HR, payroll, supply chain, municipal standard chart of accounts to ensure optimum performance of their resources. Her vision is to see the African continent use technology to solve its challenges and use it as an enablement tool to run successful, efficient, forward thinking organizations. She's an accomplished executive leader with extensive project and strategic management capabilities. And today she's going to talk about AI in supply chain. Namsa, I hope you're doing well and welcome. I hope you're ready.
Hi, Zanzele. Firstly, thank you for this amazing opportunity to have a conversation about AI and supply chain. I must say that the conference has been absolutely amazing. So many lessons to learn. And I believe that Africa should really take advantage of augmenting their businesses, amplifying their businesses using artificial intelligence. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Over to you.
Great. So I think my talk it's really a conversation, that I would like us to have where AI is concerned, specifically under supply chain. Just a bit about our company. Our vision is to advance African culture and humanity through assimilation of artificial intelligence. We want to achieve this by changing the African narrative when it comes to progressive technology. How do we ensure that all Africans take advantage of what technology brings into their world, into their businesses? Augmenting every area of your business that can be augmented or that you can take advantage of. So that is basically it. So my primary goals on this talk is really threefold. I want to talk about how can we avoid failed projects in the future. So many organizations, they can become a little bit nervous about implementing AI solutions because of the high rate of failure. So I would like us to look at how do we avoid the failures when we're trying to bring in the AI technology. We also need to then share some bit of insights in terms of and information in terms of some of the big companies that implemented artificial intelligence. This will give us an insight in terms of what is it that we can avoid. We can also then will be looking at how to implement AI effectively, successfully, above all, profitably in your logistic environment or in your supply chain environment. And I'm happy to take as many questions as you may like, because I think this is a subject that is very key in ensuring success. I think the first thing that we need to look at is how do we avoid failed projects. And we do look at big companies to say, what is it? What types of mistakes they've done that we can avoid as companies. I mean, we looked at the Amazon case study when they decided to automate their recruitment completely. Now, the rule of that particular system was that there should be no humans in the chain, which was a big challenge. And secondly, the system was trained with all the applications that Amazon has. And you can imagine that Amazon is huge when it comes to the different applications that you can think of. But then in the real world, you realize that a woman of color like me, the algorithm that the Amazon used, it looked at, in order to maximize the successful candidates, it looked at your white male, it filtered out all women and 9 white candidates. So you can then imagine how it entrenched in the biases in the organization. And moreover, they couldn't fix it. They were not able to fix that challenge. So what can we learn from this particular case study? If you have someone with so many resources and they're trying to bring something that is supposed to be well-changing, but they come across great challenges like biases, and it takes quite a lot, or you find that they experience great difficulties in terms of changing the technology that they brought in. The other thing that we have seen, obviously, as a globe at large, we were recently affected by the pandemic, and modern companies did not have a pandemic information to use because their systems are not necessarily predictive. They look at what has happened previously. So you find that there are many failures sometimes that we need to think of and look at, and the data that we have, it may not really bring the solutions that we want because of the type of technology that we may decide to use. So that is something that we then had to really look at. And then the second thing that we wanted to check is how can we then implement AI successfully in a supply chain environment. I think the biggest thing that we need to consider when it comes to artificial intelligence is that we need to look at the missing puzzle, which is a human. We can never implement AI technology without utilizing the intelligence a human comes with. And that is some of the things that we at times, forget as tech companies, or even as ICT people that are trying to implement these solutions. One of the things that we've looked at within Amathuba AI is how do we augment the technology, so we had to look at how about we consider the term augmented intelligence instead of artificial intelligence. This is where we then bring in machines and humans and making sure that they are able to work together optimally, with each one having strong points that they bring into the organizations or into the conversations or into the technology that we are trying to build. So you find that big data approaches are inflexible and backward looking. Big data approaches can be great for certain scenarios, like recognizing a dog, for instance, because the shape and appearance of a dog doesn't change much. It has a limited use in logistic, however, because within the logistic environment, the ground moves very fast and it moves under your feet all the time. Demand might be consistent, but supply may be very short. So in an African context, these issues are amplified. So what we had to look at then was with small data and forecast AI. So if you think about the small data and forecast AI, it can tell, for instance, if the ladies in the area are baking banana bread every second Tuesday, which is quite formidable, but it doesn't know if the oranges, for instance, take great this year and if they're going to be a demand spike. So this is where humans are coming in. The great failure in many artificial intelligence projects is that we try to avoid using the human intelligence and we want to use bots and machines, and we need to really try and avoid that. For example, let's say, for instance, we're looking at a system, the pitfalls of testing with few stores. So a few stores are easy to test, but when you put 1,000 stores and 300 products, it definitely fails. So we need to be able to, even before we start with implementing artificial technology, we need to be able to look at what is it that will be practical, what is it that will fail? And normally you have to start with your smallest processes, because if you start with your smallest processes and you build and you go back, and your AI needs to give you an ability to go back and fix variables of your solution. Because if you have developed a solution and you realize that it's failing, and it takes you, for instance, 6 weeks for a data scientist to change and discover and check what is the problem with it, then you will be experiencing great challenges, one as a client as well as a technology organization that is trying to implement this solution. And the biggest challenge with AI tools, or let me say AI projects, is that there's a lot of pushback. So how do we avoid experiencing a number of pushbacks and ensure that we deliver value to the clients that we want to implement artificial intelligence for? So those are some of the things that we wanted to look at. Now, just to continue with the example that I've just made, how do we ensure successful implementation? If you think about that, each store is very different. And when you're looking at technology, you have to look at the bot looks for individual patterns for each store. And even if you look at different combos, you need to be, for instance, get technology that may be able to augment and be able to see the different patterns. But what is important is, are you able to go back and change the different variables and at a very quick timelines? So one of the solutions that we have, the bot allows you to add information and your knowledge as you are building. And if you have to make changes in the building, you are able to literally go back and make those particular changes. You may be in an environment where promotions, they're insensitive to promotions, but the other group of stores, you find that promotions are very important to them. Let's say, for instance, you are implementing AI in stores where there's a wealthy customers and in stores where the customers are not wealthy. So it tells you that the variables that you need to change, they need to be very different, and they need to be sensitive to the environment in which you are applying AI to. For instance, you can also look at environments where, in terms of each and every single week, what is happening in a particular store, are you able to dig in and be able to deliver a solution accordingly in environments like that? So that is one of the examples that we wanted to look at. What are then the benefits of AI in supply chain? The biggest benefit is that you are able to get insights on your data, and you are able to gain profitability. because at the end of the day, it's not just about the savings that you make when you are implementing artificial intelligence. How can you ensure that you are able to be profitable? So when you look at solutions, it's important that even at a demo level, presentation level, your AI solution architects, they need to be able to tell you, and they need to be able to assist you in seeing the return on investment quite quickly and quite early, before you can even embark on a AI project. The other thing that then becomes important for organizations that are embarking on AI is visibility of information. If you have information that is visible, and you will be able to make decisions, and you will be able to drive progress within your organization, and you'll be able to make the changes that you're supposed to make into your organization. And the other element that then becomes very important is the cost savings. So when you're bringing AI into your environment, how do you ensure that save cost will be saved? Especially in the logistic or in the supply chain environment, there's quite a lot of inventory that you are dealing with. Sometimes you may find that you're buying stock that you're not supposed to be buying, or you're buying stock at the wrong time because there's no insight that you get from the solutions that you have. So it's one of the things that are very important that need to be considered. And obviously, revenue enhancement is one of the key things that we need to then be looking at when it comes to artificial intelligence. One of the things that is often asked in the meetings or in the rooms that we go into is, are we ready, or are organizations ready to implement AI for logistic companies? And what we say is that a lot of logistic companies are already running with brilliant systems, and they're well run. So we need to use the technology we need to use the intelligence that is there, and bring in technology to augment the human intelligence that is there. So if we are understanding the fact that we cannot leave humans out of it, we need to work with humans in order to augment the current processes. So 9 out of 10, you find that the greatest fears of organizations when they think about introducing AI is the fact that they are afraid that it may replace people. It will never replace people. It's a matter of augmenting the intelligence that is there, and making sure that the solution provider that you're bringing into your environment, they understand your environment succinctly. And once you start with your project, there will be quite a lot of variables that may change. You should be able to have technology that you can literally go back and make the changes that you want to make, and then be able to test it again and make sure that it delivers what you would like it to deliver accordingly. And I think that is basically it from our end. I think the biggest lesson is that when we bring in technology like AI, we need to ensure that humans are part of the technology. The idea is we are augmenting, we're not necessarily replacing. And that's about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nomsa. Very interesting there. We're not going to be replaced by machines. They are there to augment, to help us. We, like Johan was saying earlier, we cannot delegate our thinking to machines. So we need that human machine collaboration. I was thinking about, sometimes, I mean, the data that we try to maybe harvest from, say, I don't know, alternative data sources, let's say social media data. And
Yeah.
you find that some of it could just be noise, not really, useful data. And that's where the human element should come in to say, well, this is the kind of data that we should feed into the system. Otherwise, if we allow our algorithm just to harness all the data, and I think the outcome could be chaotic. So I think it's very important what you're saying there.
And I think the biggest a question that we should be asking ourselves is, why are we trying to do this project? What value is it going to bring into our environment? Because the minute we get it right there on our why, it will be easy for us to choose the tools that will be complementary to our environment, tools that will be able to align with the strategic objectives that we've set as companies that are looking into embarking on an AI journey.
Indeed, indeed. Okay, I don't seem to see any question, here, but yeah, thank you so much, Nomsa. It's good to implement AI across the entire value chain, from raw materials, ordering, manufacturing process, even to clients delivery processes, and even gathering data back from the clients, and improving our processes. So it's very imperative. So we don't need to implement AI in silos, and maybe implement it on one part of the production, what do you call it, the value chain, but we need to look at whether it could be employed across the entire supply chain. Thank you so much for that
Absolutely.
insightful presentation.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you to everyone who logged in. Have a great day further.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Nomsa will be available also on the panel discussion that we're going to have at the end, towards the end. She'll be moderating. So if you have any question, perhaps you didn't have the chance to ask, feel free to pose that question during the panel discussion later on. Yeah, so we're going to take a short break again, and we're going to talk about AI in financial services. So don't go away. We will see you in a few minutes, or in a minute.